Videotaping him, videotaping us. What were you pointing at?
So this is called the cage they used to use that to lower people down into the mines.
I wouldn't want that job.
Nope.
The Superstition Mountains were created by a volcano 20 million years ago.
Over there?
It's a mountain range that runs east to west, 65 miles, north to south, 35 miles. It has an elevation of 5,000 feet above sea level. The part of it that you see here is the western face of it, possibly the most photographed landmark in the state, next to the Grand Canyon. In 1964, they dedicated 159,757 acres of it to a wilderness area. So if you go up there, you'll have to walk or ride a horse. No motorized vehicles are allowed. It was home for the Apache and the Pima Indians. The Apaches considered the mountain to be very sacred ground, only allowed their highest chiefs to go to the top of it. They believed that it would rumble. They called it their Thunder Mountain or Thunder God. The way it got its name, in 1865, the Army had built Fort McDowell. The farmers in Mesa would grow crops to feed the livestock. The Pima Indians worked for them. They would tell stories about strange things that happened around the mountain. When the farmers heard the stories, they thought they were being superstitious. So they called it Superstition Mountain. The Pimas, they called it the Crooked Top Mountain. It's supposed to be home of the Dutchman gold mine. The legend of the Dutchman mine is 124 years old. They claim an average of 100 people a year would go looking for it. No one has found a trace of it yet, and they still search and die looking for it to this day. They call these people Dutch hunters. Learn more about them at the museum here in town. There are people who believe the government has a military base inside the mountain. It's a UFO landing site and have portals into other dimensions. Lizard-like people come out, walk around on the mountain, do whatever it is lizard-like people do. Never met one, have no idea what they do, kind of wonder what they look like. My guess would be lizard bodies with human head and arms, or human bodies with lizard legs and
Let's
tails.
talk about the aliens.
Picture one
Let's talk about
shopping
what the
at a
aliens look like.
Victoria's Secret. A lot of strange stories about the mountain. Some are true, most of them are just stories. Here on the right, the big pit is the Wasp Mine. In 1983, they found a vertical vein of gold. It's called a chute. This vein produced 2,500 ounces of gold, worth $1 million in just 6 months. It averaged 13 ounces of gold per ton of rock, and the gold mining today averages are around 1/4 ounce per ton. So they did really well back then. That was the last big find around here. Off to the right front of the train, about halfway to that big building, the white sign by the main. It marks the main shaft of the Mammoth Mine. It's a two-chambered shaft, means it had two cages in it. 30 feet across the opening and the top goes down a depth of 1,058 feet, and that's almost a quarter of a mile. In 1897, a storm broke out and earthened down and it flooded out the mines. So they closed the mines up and Goldfield closed up and pretty much became a ghost town. It stayed that way until 1910 when a man named George Young came along. He was the former mayor of Phoenix. Knowing people that had money, he convinced them that with their backing and the invention of electric generators, they could pump the water out of the mine and make a lot of money. The mine reopened, Goldfield came back to life, and it did so well he changed the name of it to Youngsburg after himself. At 1,058 feet, they hit an underground river called an aquifer, and that flooded out the mine again. They pumped water 24 hours a day for a month, barely lowered the water level an inch. When they figured out that it ran in the bottom as fast as you pump it out of the top, you could never get the water out. They closed the mine up at Youngsburg or
Can we go any slower?
It closed up. That became a ghost town in 1927. The Mammoth, it remains flooded to this day. And it was the highest producing mine in the Goldfield Mining District. That covered this entire desert area. In 1895, you would have found 400 tents here and 28 mines. It was called Tent City. If you look back at the old engine on the trestle here and lines up with the superstitions, makes for a nice photograph. You'll have to be on or facing the left side of the train to get that photo, as you cannot see it off the right side of the train. You folks in the caboose can't get it out the back window. Way over to the base of the mountain, the big open air building is the Black Queen Mine. The original claim there was in November of 1892, made a third in production in the Goldfield Mining District. They found gold there in 1977. A man named Jacob Waltz walked around here. He was a German immigrant. He was asked what language he spoke, and he said, "Ich spreche Deutsch," or he spoke German. They called him the Dutchman, but he wasn't Dutch. He is mostly known for being the founder of the Dutchman's Gold Mine. He arrived in the Salt River Valley or the Phoenix area in 1868, where he met a lady named Julia Thomas. She owned Thomas's Bakery. They became friends, and old Jacob last run the town. He came down with pneumonia. Julia took him in, tried to nurse him back to health. When he realized he wasn't getting better, he gave her directions to the mine. Told her when she found it, she'd be the richest woman in the territory. And 3 hours later, on October 25th of 1891, Jacob passed away at the age of 81. After Jacob passed, Julia went looking for the mine, and eventually selling her store to finance all the trips. In just a few years, she became ill with Bright's disease, passed away, broke, without a penny to her name. It's like that story of the guy who went to Vegas in a $20,000 Cadillac, came back in a $100,000 bus with Greyhound on the side of it. Off to the right front of the train, around the top mountain on the end is Boulevard Mountain. On this side was a peak before it was blown off in 1895. By the base was the Bulldog Mine. One of Jacob's clues, the shadow of a peak would fall on his mind at a certain time of the year. They thought he was talking about weave or needle on the backside of the superstitions. The Bulldog was the second highest producing mine in the Goldfield mining district due to its high quality of gold. And because of this production, the peak was there. A lot of people think it was the Dutchman's mine. It's never been proven. If you turn to the left, you have a view of the back of Goldfield, backdrop of the superstitions. See the young lady up there, wave at her. And where that young lady is standing is Lulu's Bordello. It's about the history of the women in the West. It's educational, very family friendly, so you can take children up there. That would be Miss Joy. She would be your tour guide if you decide to go there. Back in April of 1893, a huge storm in the mountains created a flash flood. It exposed the fault line that had gold in it. That led to the opening of the Mammoth Mine, which led to the building of Goldfield. At its peak, it had a population of 1,500 people. 12 to 1,300 of these were employed by the mining companies. Phoenix had a population of just 1,780 then, and the nearest town was Mesa, 2.5 hours away by stagecoach. Phoenix was 1 to 1.5 days, depending upon how many problems they had. The tall cactus is the saguaro cactus. They are native to the Sonora Desert. Oldest one on record is 350 years. They start growing arms around the age of 75. One with 6 or more arms are about 200 years old. The arms grow in a way as to help keep it in balance. It also grows the Arizona state flower. The little white flowers start blooming in mid-April. Right below the flower grows the seed pod. It's bright red in color when it breaks open, and sometimes it is mistaken as a flower. For only $3,000 to $5,000, you could have one in your yard. The green trees are the Palo Verde tree. It's Spanish for green stick or green pole. It's also the Arizona state tree. 2 varieties, the blue and the foothill. The bushy-looking cactus is the cholla, spelled C-H-O-L-L-A, more commonly referred to as the jumping cactus. They have very sharp needles, little barbs on them. They grow on pods and grow on the arm. If you bump into one, the needles get into your skin. When you pull away, the barbs keep the needle from coming out. You pull the pod off, makes the arm jump around, and people think they jump ninjas. Many years ago, a friend of mine rode a dirt bike through one. Took about 3 weeks to get the needles on. Not a fun experience. It is painful. At its best not to get rope blister. True story. The little tree coming up is the mesquite tree. They use it for firewood, making medicine, making weapons. They would grind the seed pods up to make flour or food. Looks like a pea pod, has vitamin and protein in it. Buy it as mesquite meal. The tree mostly used for barbecuing. 1890, Goldfield, not a fun place to live. People came here to make fortunes. Ended up in the desert and a dirt floor tent with lizards, scorpion, tarantula, poisonous centipede, Gila monsters, rattlesnakes, mountain lions, coyotes, and the most scariest of all, the drunken miner that couldn't find his way home. The Gila monsters are one of two venomous lizards in the Sonora Desert, possibly in the world, and the other one, his cousin, the Mexican beaded lizard. These two will spend 70% of their life underground, so the chances are you'll never see one out in the wild. Back in the 1890s, the ratio for men to women in this town was about 80 men to 1 woman. Most of the ladies, they worked in the bordellos, cribs, and saloons. It was a matter of survival. We thank y'all for riding with us. There is a comment book inside the station by the front door. Your comments help us improve our train rides. If you enjoyed your ride, tipping is acceptable, greatly appreciated, as we do work for those tips. Y'all take care, come back to see us, have a great day. May all your travels in life be safe and happy ones. You all be great, thank you.